Hello everyone. So in today's session, we will look at the difference between the table maintenance authorization objects s underscore table underscore dis and then s underscore table underscore name. So let's let's try to understand what these two authorization objects does and then in which case we use what. Okay. So as you know, the authorization object repository is SU21. So from here we'll be able to see the authorization objects present in the system, and also we'll be able to see the documentation related to the authorization objects. So for table maintenance, right, so which is a critical authorization that we normally assign in the system, so we need to understand how do we restrict the table maintenance access, and then what is the significance of each authorization object. So now, first we'll focus on s underscore table underscore dis. So in the earlier versions of SAP, so we only had s underscore table underscore dis for restricting the table maintenance access. Okay. So what we can do from here is, if I click on display, so you will be able to see the restrictions can happen on two authorization fields. One is activity and then the other is table authorization group. So what is a table authorization group? So we need to understand what is table authorization group. Okay. So see, in SAP, how it happens is like, we can see an object class here, right? So we are saying that BC underscore, C is for basis development environment, and then the relevant authorization objects pertaining to BC underscore C is available in here. So similarly, table authorization group. So similar tables are categorized and then they are placed into certain authorization group. Okay. So a particular authorization group, for example, let's say if we talk about any any security related tables, so they're all part of some authorization group. Something to do with finance, so they're all part of certain authorization group. So this is how the tables are categorized and then they have been placed into certain authorization groups. So in earlier versions, we only had s underscore table underscore dis to restrict the table maintenance access. So there is a pro and there is a con for providing access with s underscore table underscore dis. So the pro is, so if we give access to a particular authorization group, right, so you will end up getting access to multiple tables which are similar in nature and then which are part of the table authorization group. So that we don't have to keep giving we don't have to keep guessing which tables that he would need. So just by giving access to authorization group, he would be like getting full kind of an access to that particular authorization group, and then he can able to maintain the tables within that authorization group. So the con is, what happens is, let's say in that particular authorization group there are hundreds of tables, let's say. So, but the user only need access to maintain only two tables, but we are kind of giving him additional access of additional access to maintain the other 98 tables, which should not be the case. So if you see this, right? So in connection with this, refer to the authorization object s underscore table underscore name. So we will now talk about s underscore table underscore name. So with this authorization object, you'll be able to restrict access based on a particular table. Okay. So this is much more helpful when SAP has provided this authorization object. So now we are talking about authorization group, table authorization group. So where can we find these tables? Where can we find the table authorization groups and then relevant tables inside it? So that the table that we have to refer is td.dat. Okay. Now let's go to SE16, which is for table, which is a table browser, and then we will go td.dat. Okay. Okay. So now in here you'll able to see the table name. So let's change the user parameters to field label. So table name and authorization class. So I wanted to find out, let's say, a table called T000, and then I wanted to find which authorization, class, and then this is group. This is authorization group, this is authorization class, and this is the table name. So this is part of SS. So this particular authorization group is very critical. So you're not supposed to give this access to the end user. So this is the one. And then we have to also talk about a particular uh, authorization group called ampersand NC ampersand. So I think this is the one. So you have more than 500. So let me remove this as well. So 17,000 tables, which are part of this authorization group called ampersand NC ampersand. So when we are using s underscore table underscore this, so we have this question, always asked. So what are the important authorization group that you don't want to give this access to a user, which you kind of consider them very critical authorization groups. So whenever there are tables, and then if they are not going to maintain these tables under a particular authorization group, so automatically what SAP does is, so those tables get stored into this particular authorization group called ampersand NC ampersand. So this particular authorization group is very critical, and you are not supposed to assign this authorization group to any of the user. So this is an important one. And like we have just seen SS, right? So this SS authorization group, right? This is a critical authorization group which contains these tables. So they have around 2,273. But see, if you see the AGR tables, all AGR tables, 125 and 1252 AGRS. So all these tables are AGR underscore T codes, AGR underscore text, AGR underscore users. So all of this data is getting stored in, all of these tables are part of this particular authorization group. And along with this, the T tables starts with T000. So these are also very critical tables. So T000, which is to maintain the clients. So this table will contain the clients of this particular system. So this is an critical authorization group. You're not supposed to assign it to any of the user. So if we go back into the documentation, and then if you go back into the documentation. So now we have fully understand what does SAP table underscore dis does. So you'll be able to restrict based on an authorization group instead of a particular table. But whereas as table name, so you will be able to restrict the access based on a particular table. So if you see here, so the object is only checked if the authorization check for object is failed. Okay, so now there is also a relevance between stable dis and stable name. So some transaction codes, would be checking stable dis. So if this is not being checked, then directly it's gonna come to a stable name. So just because we have an upgraded, versions of SAP, we will not avoid, maintaining a stable dis. We do use a stable dis, and we also use a stable name. So the only difference between these two is name of the table or view to be accessed. So you'll be able to give access to a particular table. So you see something called as table name here instead of table authorization group. So that is the difference between these two authorization objects. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So this is what we are covering in this session. So I'll see you in the next session. So please do subscribe for more videos, and happy learning.